Hi guys, welcome back to another beautiful tutorial with Eco Designs to Fit. In this particular video, we are going to be learning how to sew this particular jumpsuit. I made a previous video before this one how to cut it out. So guys, you can see this is our pattern. I've cut it out on fabric. So what you are going to do is to fold your fabric into two and cut out each of the two pieces for both the front and the back. And you guys, you can see when I was cutting it, I folded the dart, but right now that I'm cutting on fabric, I went ahead to open up the dart. I added half an inch on the waistline and then added half an inch on the center front. Okay, so the half an inch on the waistline would be what we are going to use to join the down part to this jumpsuit, okay, which is the trouser part. I also went ahead to cut out the facing for the fronts because you are supposed to use the exact material which you use for the fronts for the facing. Okay, so that's why you can see me making use of same fabric. Now this is the band for the sleeve and this is the actual sleeve. Okay, so I'm going to bring in the band so that you guys can see how this sleeve should be sewed into the bands. So I'm going to place it aside, and you guys, this is the band for the bodies. Okay, so now we are going to bring in the front piece. This is the front piece, and you're going to have to cut out a strap. This is like a bias, so the wideness is about 1 inch. Then the length of the strap, you're going to have to measure from the depth of your front neckline down to the waist. Okay, whatever you have, cut it out on the strap and then pin it up on the center front just like this. Now remember that the folded part of this strap should be inwards and the rough edge should match up with the center front. Okay, now that you are done with this, go ahead and bring in the facing and stitch this right side facing each other using half an inch. So guys, after we are done, you can see these are the two front pieces, and you can see our lapel just came out beautifully well. So once we are done turning the neckline, we are going to have to join these two together, because if you don't do that, they are going to be in a separate form like a jacket. Okay, so guys, this is the wrong side. You can also see that I've weaved the rough edge of the facing. So what I'm going to do is to go ahead and stitch up the neckline using half an inch just like this. Okay, I'm going to do this for the two front piece. So guys, I am done stitching the neckline. Next is for us to hold these two front parts together, and we are going to have to hold it together just with the bias. Okay, we have nothing to do with the fabric, and this is going to be from the under bust down to the waistline. Okay, now if you don't want your cleavage to show, you can start from the bust point to join this. Okay, so but for me, I'm starting on the under bust points. All right, so I'm going to go over to my sewing machine and stitch just like I'm showing you right now, although I'm going to show you exactly what to do. So I'm going to remove my regular stitching foot. Okay, that is my regular footer, and then placing my zipper footer. Okay, that way you are going to get it right. You can't do this with your regular footer, you can see. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch this down to the waistline. So once I get to the down part, I'm going to back stitch, and then I'll show you what we have. This is the back. I'm going to flip it over to the right side so that you guys can see. You can see. So what I'm going to do next is to go ahead and top stitch again that same part. Okay, and right now I'm starting from the waist. You can actually start from that same under bust, but I think it would be better you start from the waist to top stitch. Okay, so I'm trying to ensure that everything aligns properly well, and once I get to the under bust point, I'm going to back stitch, and yeah, we are done with the front piece. Okay, so you guys, I'm going to go over to my sewing table and you guys can see what we have. I also have my band right there. Okay, so if you take a look at the picture, you should notice that there is this black bias right on the waist of this jumpsuit. So that is what we are going to be putting right now. So as usual, I'm going to cut out 1 inch bias wideness, and then the length should be enough to cover up the waist, and I'm going to go ahead and pin it on the waist. Okay, remember that the folded part should be inwards. Okay, and then I'm going to ensure that my waistband and the actual front piece are right side facing each other, and I will sew and then turn it to the down part just like this. So once I am done sewing this is what I have. Okay, so you guys, you can see what we have. I'm going to go over and we start stitching the back. Okay, so this is the back. You can see how neatly finished this is looking. So we are going to go over to the back, and as usual, I've gone ahead to cut out the facing. I've done so many tutorials right here showing you how to cut out your facing. Okay, so what you're going to do first is to go ahead and sew your facing to the neckline using 1/2 inch, and after you are done, this is what you should have. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to the wrong side so that you guys can see how the back looks like. Can you see? I've also gone ahead to weave the edges of the facing. So you guys, next is for us to join the zipper allowances together. So remember that when we were cutting this out, we added zipper allowance of 1 inch. So I'm going to start from the neckline to mark out 1 inch all the way to the down part. Okay, so and once I am done marking it out, I'm going to go over to my sewing machine and use a loose stitch to join this together and ensure that I use my steam iron to iron this flat. Okay, so you guys, when you are sewing your ready to wears, ensure that you are pressing every seams down. Okay, so we are going to go and join the shoulders. All right, so this is my shoulder and this is what we have. Now we are going to join our back and front together. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to go ahead and place my tape on the shoulder and mark out the bust point, which is 11, and we already know that the down parts is the waistline. Okay, now because this fabric is stretchy, what I'm going to do is to minus 1 inch from all of my measurements. My round bust is 9.75, so I'm going to mark 8.75 on both sides. And then going down to the waist, my waist is 9.5. I'm going to mark 8.5 inches on both sides. Okay, so you guys, you can see that I've minus about 1 inch from all the measurements. So that is what you should do if you are making use of a stretchy fabric. But if you are not using a stretchy fabric, go ahead and use your standard measurements. Okay, so guys, I'm going to go ahead and join this together, and this is what we have. So now that we have joined all the upper bodies together, we're going to bring in the down part, which is the trouser piece. Okay, So when I was joining the side seam, I left about 1.5 inches. Okay, from here I'm going to join it to the waist of the trouser. Okay, and on the trouser also I left 1.5 inches. All right, so if you take a close look, you will notice that. Okay, I have a detailed tutorial on my channel how to sew your trouser with a pocket, so I'm going to leave the link to the video in the description box so that you guys go check it out. Now I'm going to go ahead and join the upper bodies to the down parts. But how am I going to do this? I'm going to ensure that I loosen up the zipper allowance, okay, so that I could join this freely to the down parts. And while you do this, you're going to ensure that the seam allowances of the down parts and the upper part aligns properly well. And also you're going to ensure that the zipper allowances of the upper bodies and that of the trouser matches up, because right now the zipper allowance of the trouser is at the back. Okay, and you're going to have to go ahead and sew this together. Now we are going to go over to the sleeve. Now this is the sleeve, and we are going to also cut out a strap, okay, and then place it to the down part of this sleeve. Remember that the folded part should be inward as well, and you're going to bring in the band and sew right sides facing each other just like this, and then you go ahead and iron it. So you guys, we have finally done this for the two sleeve. I'm going to bring in the other one for you guys to see. Now we are also going to add up a bias at the down part of this sleeve, okay, and to do this you're going to have to turn your sleeve over to the wrong side, and you're going to sew using 1/4 of an inch and then flip over to the right side and top stitch. Okay, so I'm equally going to do this on the both sleeve, and this is what we have. Once all of this is done, I'm going to stitch up the seam allowance, which I left 1 inch for it. And once I am done, I'm going to go fix this into the armhole of my jumpsuit. And you guys, the next you're going to see is our fully sewed jumpsuit on the mannequin. Please guys, if you find this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, share to friends to get more people to see this particular video. I will see you in my next one. Bye.